Coming at you from New Jersey, the capital of misery, the place where metal forgot to die.
This is the Here Lies Metal, Too Many Notes, new music review. I am Samanthar.
And I am Maledictus, and we shall be your overlords for today and all of eternity. Welcome!
What the hell is going on today?
You tell me.
All right, so there's a band called Cultist with their new album, Manic Despair. What do we know about this?
All right, Cultist is a death metal band from Calgary, Canada. They are a, debatable 3, maybe 4-piece. We've got Jim Pitaigo on drums. Vanessa Grossburnt. That sounds like it's a death metal name, but I think that's her actual name. Grossburnt.
Yeah, it's like Grossburnt, but no,
Born for
name.
death metal.
It's like, no, that's my name.
On bass and vocals.
Stop making fun of me. It's my name.
Brody Wiley on guitars on some tracks, and we have a depressor on guitars and other tracks. This was recorded and mixed mastered by Jan from Chrome, and I believe Jan is also a depressor. I'm not sure if he's actually in this band. I think he's more of a studio musician, but he is credited on the album on Bandcamp. So let us know, Jan, where you stand.
We've done an interview with him before, as you remember.
So this band was formed in 2015. They've had a demo, an EP, and a split, so they hit everything except for an album. So we're here for their debut album, released February 5th, independently.
It is now time for the Here Lies Metal 5-point bidirectional classification scale, including the categories of genre loyalty, listenability, production style, musical complexity, and just plain fun. And remember, neither side of this scale means good or bad. It's all good. All right, so the first category we have is true or nonconformist. What is going on here?
I'm going to say 2 on the true end of the scale. We have some very classic sounding death metal, but I feel like we're mixing a few different elements of classic death metal that aren't typically mixed all the time, so we're not all the way on true. But it's kind of like I feel like the best way to describe it is we're mixing different eras of death on the same album, like like Human Death and Scream Bloody Gore Death are both here, and I feel like there's kind of a Swedish sensibility, I think, just on some of the tone, like a Sunlight Studio sound, on some of the more rhythmic elements. But other than that, the vocal is kind of a growl, shouty, death-ish vocal. Not any gurgling. But we have very complex riffs, very complex bass parts that are very high up in the mix, and death metal drums playing interesting stuff and not just blasting. There's a lot of proggy noodling on this thing, but they also bring like some much more humble and like just down to earth riffs too. Like you contrast track 2 with it, which is this instrumental, which is like prog breakdown, and then track 3 comes in with just like sick riffs death metal, which I thought was really awesome. I mean, of course, track 3 also does have this like exploratory riffs section later on, but they are not afraid to break out like just some mean riffs here and there. Also interesting was some synth work, I thought, which kind of brought it into the nonconformist side, and eerie atmospheric synths. Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of the synth is kind of beyond death metal there, but otherwise these guys chose death. As their, I'm thinking like Individual Thought Pattern, that really kind of like super complicated album, the Steve DiGiorgio sounding bass, that whole era of death, for me, that's what I was thinking. Of
all the old school death metal, all the new old school death metal bands, I think the ones going for the death sound are the most, ambitious.
Yeah, well, you have to be kind of proficient to do that sound. You can't be a caveman.
But yes, true, all true classic death metal elements, and they're with their own little, proprietary brew happening here.
All right. Next category: sonic terror or distorted pop. What is it?
We're gonna get a 2 for sonic terror because it is death metal. There's a harsh vocal. We've got blast beats. Like song structure wise, it's a linear songwriting, so no verse chorus, familiar nice structures, many expansive and terrifying and proggy riff journeys into complete chaos on this thing. But on the other end, keeping it from the one side of sonic terror is it's not that punishing, and like the tempo, it's mostly mid-tempo, and I feel like the progginess of it keeps it from just bottoming out too hard on the heaviness. Like it's not that heavy.
yeah, keeping to that classic death sound is not trying to be at the extreme limits of the extreme. It's a bit of an assault on the mind rather than the ears. My
Yes.
mind, my puny mind, anyway.
It's mentally challenging.
Yes, and that's the terror in most, a lot of it.
That's terrifying for Maledictus.
Sure. When I'm like, there's too many notes. But
Me, an intellectual.
yeah, be more intellectual. I can't. It's just too much. But it's very complex rather than the lack thereof. Like a lot of people think of sort of caveman death metal, but there's also very complex death metal, and that's what we're dealing with here. So it might hurt your mind. All right.
All right.
Next.
Our next scale, the production scale, Fisher Price to high production, we turn to Maledictus.
All right. So in my expert opinion, this album gets a rather high score for death metal. I would say 3.5. And not all death metal is created equally, as we were talking about. But and I'm not saying this stands up to like those golden big 490s, Florida kind of or Swedish kind of standards, that everyone loved back then. But it's pretty high res though, for like a not a major release, right? Every instrument can be heard effortlessly, which is not a usual foundation of death metal. I mean, you could seriously hear everything. Everything is there. It's entirely clear. But this is prog, of course, and there's a very dominant bass, and in a lot of death metal, once again, the bass is usually kind of non-existent in a lot of it, even though it's there. Like it might as well not be there.
It usually it adds heaviness, but not necessarily anything
it's
artistic.
It doesn't really like if you listen to like Deicide or something, they might as well not be a bass, But we have one that here.
Deicide slander.
I keep slandering Diaz. The guy's gonna come get me one day. But anyway, yes, like the bass has a very fair of the mix, a very fair share of the mix. And as prog rock does, you have to always let the bass. Prog rock will always talk about the bass. The bass. And this, of course, has a like you'd be listening to Yes or something. But yeah, the bass is very dominant here, and it's shining, and it's great. So it's not prog unless the bass is right out in front, and this is really a progressive version of death metal, and it's very bass dominant. So that's one thing that you're definitely going to hear. It's going to be in your face.
Whenever I hear death metal and I can hear the bass doing anything, I'm like, is this progressive death metal?
Yeah, just being heard.
But this is definitely progressive death metal. It's not like the bass doing one weird lick in a whole album of me being like, it's progressive.
Is this progressive? Flash the meme.
No, this is really progressive. Okay.
There's the meme, folks. Okay, so is it not enough notes? Or is it too many notes?
We got a lot of notes here. We're going to get a 4.5 for too many notes.
That's a lot of notes.
There's a lot of riffs on this. A lot of them are very complex. Here at Here Lies Metal, we like to talk about riffs. Sometimes when they get a certain level of maturity, they will attain a shape. And we have a lot of shaped riffs. We have square-shaped riffs. I think we have some triangles, too, on the album. Just riffs with shapes, which are just a little bit above your regular 2D riff. In my view.
Yeah, it's a secret code, possibly. Like Tool or something. It's a Fibonacci number.
It's an algorithm.
No, we're not going there. But how do they? There's way too many riffs. And movements and riffs. And to the untrained brain and ear like myself, these guys are it's chaotic and intimidating. But these guys are able to. They're very good. They're very proficient at music, and they're able to navigate this confusing maze of riff and movement. They're okay. They got it in here, and they're doing it fine. So
But and as we've already mentioned, we got to talk about the bass in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Just so many complex bass parts. I mean, she never relaxes for any part of this album. Yep. Like the guitars will just like strike out a chord, and you'll just hear this like bass playing just the very complicated lead line underneath. I don't know if that's the bass solo or it's just like the bass line. We could say this whole thing is maybe a long bass solo, and so.
Nice.
And the only reason I'm not giving that a 5 for too many notes is because, as I mentioned, just some of those like more. Grounded sick riffs that they do indulge in sometimes. They're just your more basic sick riff. so they aren't totally relentless on the prog end. They do know how to get down.
I was kind of wonder how bands like this, there's a lot of bands doing this. How do they remember all those different parts? Like there's so many notes, but like there's a lot of notes for this kind of music. But like I said before, death metal is not all created. It's not all for cavemen. Some death metal people could think, and they could come outside the cave and learn to hunt and fish and gather, and they evolve. But it's always just baffles me. It's like, how did you remember all that and play it live? Or even record it? I don't know. It's the maledictus problems. So, most important question of the day: is it fun or is it focused?
I'm going to say it's focused. I'm going to say it's all the way focused. 5 for focused. This album is about riff journeys, I would say, for the most part. But it's not like a fun kind of space riff journey. It's more of like a mind terror riff journey.
Yes.
It's a serious music. It's not for good times. And also the lyrical themes seem to be about mental suffering, torment. The album's called Manic Despair. Song titles like Missing a Soul. So
My soul. Yeah, to me the notes were more terrifying than the words for me. But when you let's put it to the let's put it to the bottom line here. No one fucks around or slacks off or even smiles when they're making this music. Did any of you guys smile when you made this music? I don't think you did. You were just like, you were, yeah. So this is not fun music, at all.
I mean, I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it's just fun.
It's focused. It's focused.
It's fun, hopefully, for the listener. But for you guys, you guys are working hard when you made this. So.
All right. Now we will discuss the artwork. We have a piece here by Constance Knight.
Now for my favorite part.
What do you think of this?
Do we all see this, folks? Do you see this at home, folks? Do you see what we're looking at here? Cultist, Manic Despair. This is a painting. Or maybe, is that a painting?
Yes, it's calling back to the painting era of death metal albums.
Right, they used to do that a lot, right? Of a headbanger kind of guy, right? It's like a headbanger.
It's kind of hard to say gender on this.
We don't know. That's true. Yeah, we don't know. But so maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a girl. I don't know. Or maybe
it's a pained person.
It's definitely going. The person's going ah. But there's like a magic, there's a magic coming, engulfing them. Like this is magic here. This stuff over here,
being defeated by some it's very magical looking swirls.
And it either looks like their face is just turning blackened by burning, or maybe it's just like aging. Like they chose the wrong chalice on Indiana Jones, and they're just like and they turn really old and they turn into a skeleton. I don't know what's going on there, but they're not going to survive it though. That's my
I mean, I think it's pretty obviously like a metaphor for the album title, where like these little blue swirls are representing mental illness or whatever is going wrong, and we have someone succumbing to it and being tormented by it. So I think it's a metaphor.
Maybe the soul is coming out of the body, like they're talking about the soul, the no soul. What was that song called?
It's called Missing a Soul.
Missing a Soul. Maybe this is the miss your soul.
No, I think the blue things are coming at that person.
Oh, like attacking.
It's attacking.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. But yeah, I like this. The expression here is golden.
I already said that.
Constance Knight. Constant Knight.
Constant Knight.
Constant Knight. I
wonder if that's a pseudonym.
Right, you should.
Constance
right.
Knight.
I like that. Right. But yeah, this is top notch, and if this album ever comes up on bad album covers, don't fucking pay attention to them because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, okay? Because they might see something like this to be like, what is this? This is so cheesy. No, it's not. It's none of that. It's awesome. Everything about it is awesome. I love it. This is my new favorite album cover. Good job, Constant Knight. I love it.
All right. In conclusion, Cultist, Manic Despair. Very cool album. I'm always, super excited to find, an independent release, very awesome sounding, very, retro and true sounding death metal album. And we love bass around here. So anytime we've got some cool bass stuff happening, we always pay attention to that.
I was paying attention.
Because we're just weird bass people, I guess.
Prog rock people, so we're listening for it.
But yeah, it was a very cool, very awesome first album. Thank you for listening. This has been the Here Lies Metal Too Many Notes New Music Review.
And we'll see you with the next review very soon. Goodbye.